We're going up and down, over and over. It's the same old thing. Up and down, over and under.
Jason, man, thank you for coming on the show. Pumped to have you.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So we were just catching up before we started. You're actually standing in one of your locations right now.
I am. Yeah, this is our Mountain View location.
And it's been closed, you were telling me, for 9 months?
Yeah, March 15th, we shut this location down and it's still closed.
Yeah. Is it because you have a number of locations? So does it just come down to like the county?
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, it's not funny. It's
You're right.
It's there's different guidelines per state, per county, per country.
Right.
So we have corporate wellness locations globally. We have brick and mortar that we own domestically in the United States, and different states, different counties have different guidelines. And at this particular location that I'm standing in, it's awesome, but we were slated to open it back up really soon. And then, then we shifted back into the purple. And what that means is that in California, if you shift into the purple, you indoor fitness activity is not allowed. And at this particular location, outdoor activity would be really difficult. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal. Yeah. So, I mean, from just like a pure business perspective, how have you been adapting to like what's going on in the world? Like with, thinking about a physical gym, not being able to get people through the doors. It's like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, it's really tough. It's really difficult because as a business owner, when you take on, let's just say when you open your first business, you take on a lot of risk and liability. But for the most part, you have an idea of what that is. Okay, I signed a lease on this building. It's X amount of $1,000 a month. If something's really wrong here, can I personally focus on as much as possible to get us out of the, out of the red or whatever it is. And you start telling yourself, you know what, if it really isn't going that great, I know it could be successful. When it comes to something like this, it completely takes that whole logic out because there is no logic. One day
you can't outwork it.
No, one day you're open and the next day the governor comes on and says that you are closed. And unless you want to violate state and county laws, like that's just the way it is. There's nothing you can do to grow sales or whatever. So in the brick and mortar, that's been really difficult. Now, our business, we're fortunate that we have brick and mortar locations, corporate locations. We have a digital footprint. We have obviously e-commerce. And so our platform is unique compared to most traditional gyms. But when it comes to like the actual space itself, it's been very trying times. And as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I'm really doing the best I can to recognize what's in my control and focus on that. And know that if the fitness space is being hit this hard, and I know it is, obviously, some amazing opportunities will present themselves through it if I keep my eyes open and if I don't relent, right? If I keep marching, keep moving forward, keep being resilient in this idea of identifying opportunities and pursuing them, something big will come out of it because an opportunity like this is probably once in a lifetime.
Right. Yeah. It's almost kind of similar to, the housing crisis. It's like if you were able to kind of persevere and you could put yourself in a position to where like there's a lot of good deals to be had at that time. Right. So I hear what you're saying. For the digital, because I've looked at the NCFIT and it's awesome. Your digital platform, and I'll make sure to link to it in the show notes. Was that something that you had already like kind of diversified with and built out prior to all this happening?
Yeah. So we started off with brick and mortar locations like you would normally go to. Then we expanded into corporate wellness because we saw this demand for connecting employees and using fitness is a great way to do that. So we started with 1, 2, 3, et cetera. And that actually helped us grow globally through corporate wellness. Then what happened is we were expanding to multiple locations. We started saying, hey, how are we going to keep good quality between all these sites? And so we rolled out our own app for our own coaches. So that every day when they show up to class, this is your warm up, this is your session plan, this is your scaling. It'd be like the equivalent of like a playbook every single day for an athlete who's getting ready for their game. Every single day, it's not exactly the same, but every day they all are reviewing the playbooks so that they can go out there and deliver the product. Well, we started doing that for ourselves. We created a ton of content. It was a lot of work. And so then what we did is we started selling that to other gyms. And so now we have a lot of gyms that use our programs, because for them to do it themselves is very difficult. For us, we have a whole team now that's creating videos and daily, because every day it's different. And so we sell that to a lot of gyms all over the world. And then we also have a B2C product that we're actually revamping and launching here in the new year that I'm really excited about.
Very cool.
Yeah, because our B2C has never been a focus for our business. It's always been, digitally. It's always been brick and mortar and then B2B, right? But now it's going to be a further focus for us will be the end consumer. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. And I have to imagine too, having, like you said, kind of that digital playbook would probably help you keep like the level of service at each gym consistent, right? Because there's a lot of variables, I imagine. It's interesting that you guys built it for that first, and then we're like, hey, we're kind of onto something here. Like,
I mean, basically what happened is we had a location, we still do, a location in Shenzhen, China, for example. And I'm out in Shenzhen, China at one of our corporate locations. And then at the time we had a location in Cabo, Mexico, right? And so I'm sitting there and I'm going to these different locations. I'm saying to myself, how are we going to keep, quality from Shenzhen to China, to Mexico to California? And it really was, the onus was on us. How do we make our experience more similar to Starbucks? Now, I don't want to be as vanilla as I don't want it to be robotic, but I want it to be consistent. Because if you go into anywhere in the world and you order a, pumpkin spice latte, it should taste similar, very, very similar. Sure. Now you might have a better or worse barista, but you should have a similar experience. And that's where we were striving for that.
When did you guys start working on that?
Man, I mean, we did it through Google Docs and stuff starting in like 2000 and early. Our app probably came out in 2016. The app was probably 2016, 2017. And then we grew that. And then then we have some new products coming out very, very soon.
Oh, very cool. You heard it here first, folks. Yeah. So, how many locations do you have globally?
Right now, 18. It's tricky, right? It's tricky because right now, like only out of those 18, maybe 6 are operatable. The rest are all through digital. So for example, let's just take, I'll give you an example. Lucas Films in the Presidio is one of our accounts. And
awesome.
Yeah. And we run their fitness center. Well, their fitness center was closed for a long time, so we did a lot of digital stuff. Now we're back in. So, okay, perfect. We're back in with certain restrictions. But then we have a location, for example, in, one in Malaysia where they're not reopening, or Japan. And so now the coach that we had there, the kind of like the manager of the site, is now responsible for that site and now using Zoom and other data that we provide them, other tools to enhance the employees' experience, because those are all corporate sites.
Yeah. So I was listening to your book recently. I have to admit, and one of the things that struck me was the way you kind of described yourself as like a high school student. You know what I mean? Like a little unfocused, like you weren't maybe as driven as you clearly are now. Did you ever envision back then that you would be a point where you're orchestrating a global company?
I mean, no, back then, I wasn't really, I wish I knew then what I know now. And
there we go.
What that really is that, no one's really going to come in and save you, right? You got to go out there and go do your own thing to reach your own potential. And I think that was something that I learned after not getting into the college that I wanted to. I went to a junior college, kind of got a reality check. And that really inspired me, plus some great mentors to build. And I mean, we're not even close to where I want to be, but the reality is that, on a daily basis is asking ourselves, how do we navigate these challenging situations? How do we go out there, reach our potential, and make a bigger impact ultimately is the goal. I think we're barely scratching the surface.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, I mean, I imagined most people who initially find out about you, it's probably through the CrossFit Games, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely seen the original documentary where you won the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, every second counts. Yeah, that's what it's
Well,
called.
yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So like, look, I actually don't do CrossFit. I've always wanted to,
It's okay.
but here's what I love. I love having CrossFit documentaries on in the background while I work out. So I've always been a fan of it. But what was always amazing to me is, I think you won it. I was just looking it up in like 2008. I mean, you were top 3 for another, what, 6, 7, maybe 8 years?
Mm-hmm.
What I was really interested in is, one, I'm sure we could spend the whole time just talking about what it took you to get to that level, but that wasn't that long ago, and you were running NCFIT at the same time, right? When did you actually found NCFIT, the first one?
Right out of college, '08. Yeah, same time. So it was originally called CrossFit Santa Clara.
Okay.
Then as we grew, we rebranded to NorCal CrossFit. Then as we grew, we rebranded to NCFIT. And so I started competing in '08 professionally, and then I completed competing professionally in actually, technically, my last year was 2015, but 2016, I stopped competing. So it was a nice run, and it was a lot of fun.
A solid 8-year run.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the top, had a lot of fun, learned a lot. But the balancing the family, the fitness, and the business became challenging. And then my daughter got sick, and that was really a very easy turning point. Like, I need to reprioritize what I want to do, and so that's what happened.
No, that makes sense. And how is your daughter doing?
She's good.
Right? To my understanding, she's good. Everything's.
Yeah. So the way leukemia works, it's kind of like a long process. So when you get diagnosed, and all cancers are different. Leukemia is obviously a cancer. It's a blood related disease, and it's not a tumor or anything. And so because it's in your blood, it takes a while to treat. And then it gets in your bone marrow, and it becomes kind of nasty. And so it takes for children. She had what was called ALL. There's ML and ALL, and fortunately, ALL is a little bit more favorable in terms of diagnosis. But so the treatment is 2.5 years. It's actually 3.5 years for boys. Oh
wow!
Yeah, because it comes back in the testicles. Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a long time, right? So 2.5 years.
Yeah, that is a long time.
Yeah, and then after that, then you have 5 more years of constant checkups, et cetera, until they pronounce you cured. So we are, I want to say we are 2 or 3 years out from treatment completing, maybe 2 years out. And so we have 3 more years until we go, go celebrate big time.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that she's doing well.
Yeah.
You've had, unfortunately, a lot of cancer in my family as well.
It's brutal.
Well, and I can't even begin. So I have 3 kids, and I can't even begin to imagine how trying, going through something like that must be, especially when it's like, it's your kid, and probably all you want to be able to do is just solve it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you learn a lot. You learn a lot through the experience, right? You learn a lot about family. You learn, that experience, obviously running a business, I was super grateful to have amazing people that were working at the company at the time, and obviously still now and before, that really stepped up to the plate. And I was really happy to have the family support that we had, obviously, to make that experience a little bit easier. Because it can get real tough at times.
I can't even imagine. So, prior to her getting sick, when you were balancing all 3, look, most people have a tough time just getting to the gym, let alone competing at a professional level, at the highest level, while also being an entrepreneur, while also having a family. Like, a lot of people would probably wonder, like, how on earth did you ever balance that?
Yeah, I wrote the book, As Many Reps as Possible. And really what that's about is when I found CrossFit, and since then, we've kind of created our own path through NCFIT, but CrossFit really impacted my life in such a profound way, because it taught me that it's about effort and more work in less time. And for a long time, I would go to the gym and do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And then all of a sudden I started racing the clock. I started using the timer, and man, the results were profound. And so then I started taking that same approach into other areas of my life. How can I AMRAP this conversation with you? Work for as many reps as possible. How can I then go into emails and just be present, be focused, really work hard at it, and then take that into each area of my life? And at the time, we were expanding and trying to win and whatnot. The reality is that the AMRAP mentality, or that fight for AMRAPing each facet of my life, is really what made the difference for me.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, like, was it challenging? Are you just naturally someone who's just like, can get like really dialed in and focused, or is that something that you have kind of built through this mentality over the years? Yeah, no, not at all. I've really bad attention challenges. The reality is that when you got to tell yourself, like, hey, am I know a lot of people who are super busy who never seem to get past the finish line because they never just finish. I mean, how many times you open up emails, you start doing a few, and then all of a sudden you get distracted, and by the time you come back, it takes you a few more minutes to kind of refocus. It's like, hey, let's just complete the task and move on to the next one. And my boss might be listening, so the answer is never. Right. I'm knocking that workout every day. But that's the way I look at it. Is that when I started racing against the clock, hey, if I'm trying to do as many push-ups or burpees in 2 minutes as I can, I'm not going to be on the phone with you. I'm just going to be right there getting after it. And that's the mentality I try and take into each area, because you only have so much time in the day, and there's a lot of priorities that I have. Like this morning, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. Yeah, please. This morning, my daughter and I got up before her, but I woke her up at 6. So I was up at 5:30, and I like to just like get coffee and just kind of like read the news and whatever. Then I got her up at 6, because that's the time that I then took her into the garage and we worked out together. We do it every day. So awesome. How old is she? 9. Okay. So today, right, we rode the bike and did this and did that. We worked on the handstand, whatever, right? That's just our thing. Yeah. And then when I get back up, like I'm AMRAPing with her, right? We're just playing music and we're just doing that. Then I get back up, the kids end up going to school, whatever. And I then immediately went to the gym and started working, right? Boom. And then I did, podcasts and meetings and whatever else it is. Then I took an hour to work out, and then I got back in meetings, and here I am with you. And then I'll do another one. And then later on tonight, I'll be back with my family. So the way I like to segment it is like, I got up, I have my own alone time, whatever that may be. Then I have my time with the children, whatever that is. Then I work, then I work out, then I work. Then when I'm home, I try and eat dinner. And so I'm trying to segment the day and switching gears as I do it. Because what I did for too long, and I'm still a victim of this, but what I did for too long is like, I just was 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and it was really crappy. I should have just either I'd be at the dinner table, but I'd be answering emails. It's like, either answer your emails or be at the dinner table. I'm cool if you want either one, but just choose what you want to do. And that's what I had to tell myself, is that I was doing too much of that. What I did too much of, and I don't do anymore. This one's really easy. You get home from work, right? And you're on the phone. I don't know if this ever happened to you. Happens to me almost daily. I'm on the phone. I'm driving through the headset or whatever, right? Law-abiding citizen over here. And I get to the house, and what I used to do is I used to get out of the car, go inside the house, and then finish my call there. But then what would always happen, I don't know if this happens to you, you'd walk in the door, and your kids would want to come say hi, and you do like the whole like, hey, daddy's on the phone, just 1 second. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you see like their joy, and it's like Christmas, which by the way feels great. It's amazing. Yeah. Right. And then all of a sudden it goes to like, okay. So instead I just sit in the car until I'm done with the call. And that was a really big learning experience for me. That's been helpful, is to kind of like self-reflect and be like, dude, I was being a dick. I got to stop that. Right. You know what? I spoke with, oh my God. I can't believe I'm forgetting her name right now. But she's amazing. She's the, it'll come to me, the mental performance coach for the U.S. women's national team, soccer, hockey, and field hockey. And she said, try and see if this doesn't help you reprioritize things. Try saying like, I'm too busy right now that's not a priority for me. Like, just, try saying like, oh, I can't right now, I got too much going on. And then telling your kid like, sorry, it's just not a priority. And you're like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. You know what? Maybe I do have time, but I love that. Like, you're so right. Like, this is kind of been one of the challenges of working from home, which I've already
Oh yeah.
done historically, is there's not necessarily that clear cutoff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that blending of like, hey, dad's home, but he's working. We can sometimes it's okay to go see him. Other times you can't. And for my little guy who's 3, like the concept of a weekend does not really exist yet, you know? And it breaks my heart because sometimes you can see the look in his face and I'm like, no, daddy's got to go work. I got to go do my thing. It seems to him like I'm making a choice to go do something else.
Yeah, it's super
and it's
difficult.
really difficult.
And so for me, like, because it's challenging to put myself in those positions. Cause like if I'm home a lot, my son will want to go do something. Right. And I never ever say no to the kids. Cause like, I don't want to, like, I mean, I say no to him a lot, but meaning like if he's like, oh, let's go bike together, I don't want to be like, no, that sucks. So instead what I'll try and do, right, is, hey, I'm going to be in my office or I'll be at the gym. I'll finish what I'm doing. So when I get there, I might be on a call, but it's not like a super formal one. I can be like, hey, I got to call you back. I'm going to be, whatever. I try and do that more. And working from home, it's the same thing. It's like, if you have to go to a coffee shop for a couple hours, maybe that's what you need to do to really be zoned in. Because when you have your kids around, it's just, it's a very difficult thing, because I never want my children to feel like they're like, annoying,
second fiddle.
But I need them to know also,
or an inconvenience.
An inconvenience. That's what I don't want them to feel that way.
No, I completely agree. And it's kind of made me reprocess. The phone is the worst. And I mean, it's a huge issue for couples. It's a huge issue for parents, because it's like you were saying, it's like that distracted attention. And I love that you actually like have made such a conscious effort to say, I'm either doing one or I'm doing the other. Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people could benefit from. Yeah.
I try, man. And I don't want to be all preachy. This is not a preachy thing. It's just something that I'm personally trying to struggle with, or I'm and then, as of recently, now that my kids are getting a little bit older, almost 10 and 7 is, I actually pull them into a lot of things now. So as of recently,
very cool.
Like I'll bring them to the gym and I'll have them explore, like, for example, my son came here the other day, we were redoing the floor and I had him come in and experience it with me. Or sometimes I'll be taking calls from the car and I'll put it on the speakers, and I'm okay with them because it's not like we're talking business. And so they're getting that acclimation to, okay, what's dad actually doing? And because they're at an age now where they can kind of like, oh, you're talking about whatever. And they actually have a moderate interest in it. So it's been kind of fun to pull them in a little bit when it's the right time.
No, I love that. And something I want to ask you a little bit more about is working out with your kids.
Oh yeah.
So obviously, I would just love to hear, when did you start working out with your kids, or letting them, kind of like begin to work out with you? And
I mean, at the earliest age possible, we've been trying to expose our children to that movement is just a part of life. And I've been trying to be very careful not to be overbearing or crazy about it, because I know that given my background and what I really enjoy, of course, but like what I needed my children to understand is that every day we need to sweat and we need to move. I don't care what you do. If you could go play tennis, you could go do whatever, but every day you need to sweat a little bit and move a little bit, non-negotiable. And that's just something we need to do as humans. And I think it's really important too that our children see us doing the exact same thing. My wife and I, every single day, exercise in some way, shape, or form. If that's a long walk to the farmer's market, that's fine. Like, and what I really try and do with my children, especially my daughter, we have to be really careful not to have her resent fitness. And because if she feels like I'm forcing it down her throat, she's not going to like it. And so, when I feel like that, I just ask her, like, hey, what's something you want to learn? And so like the handstand's been something we've really been focusing on. So that we'll spend most of our time working on handstands so she can get better at it. And then maybe 10 minutes on something that's like a little bit more kind of, and that's the way I've tried to introduce fitness, is like making it just a part of our lifestyle instead of making it something like, it's just something we do as humans. That's it. It's like as daily as eating food and drinking water and breathing air is movement every day.
Yeah, I love that. We fortunately, prior to all this, I live out in the country. Like I was trying to chase down a chicken. I was worried I was going to be late to this because I was trying to get it in the freaking pen.
Nice.
But so I built like a really nice like home gym in our basement. It was finished, but there was nothing in there. And so I'm glad to hear you say that. So my kids again are about to be 6 and one's 3. But I really do think there's a lot of value in them getting to watch their parents, number one, like move, but number two, like work. Like so much of like work ethic and things like that, I feel like get picked up just by kind of like passively watching. And as you can probably relate, like our kids pick up so much more than you would ever expect. So I agree, like giving them also just an opportunity to see like how you approach something is so invaluable.
Yeah, I think for anybody listening who doesn't exercise, or at least exercise a little bit in front of their children, I think they're missing out on something really powerful because, you know, like, oh, hey, I really grinded today. Oh, dad really grinded. It's like, what does that even mean? Like, you're on call, you're trying to build, like, they don't get it, right? It's like, oh, dad's working hard. Is he though? Like, what does that mean? But if you want to show children hard work, you can show them in a really easy way through exercise or sports or physical activity. It's very like you can see it. Whereas like other types of work, you can't see it as much. Like, oh yeah, hey, what'd you do today? Oh, you know, I recorded a great podcast. It's like it doesn't hit the mark as like, hey, Caden, I'm gonna go work out with you, and you're gonna watch me just sweat my butt off. And that is gonna instill the way we take that mindset and then we shift it into other areas in our life is something that I think about a lot.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, and it's funny too, like, you know, thinking back. So my dad was not a fitness buff by any means, but some of the most lasting memories that I have are of him working outside, working until the sun went down. You know what I mean? Like you said, sweating, like clearly exerting himself. And I can't help but think like kind of, you know, the work ethic that I and my brothers have, a lot of that is just learned by example.
Yeah.
You know, so I agree. It's like, yeah, you don't have to be in there like benching, or doing a million pull-ups, but like whatever it is, like give your kids an opportunity to see you putting in the work.
Yeah. And then look, if you're not active right now, that's okay. No problem. Just start by doing some basic walks, you know, like for a long time when the weather was it's a little bit colder but we still do it on a regular basis. Just go on nightly walks, right? As a family after dinner. And it's just a nice way to make movement as a part of your daily routine and not something that has to be on some crazy pedestal. It's like, look, dude,
I like that.
Like on the weekends or every night after dinner, like we're just walking. Like we don't need to make it a big deal. It just needs to become more routine.
Yeah. I like that. So what do your workouts look like nowadays, right? Obviously you're no longer, at least I don't think you are, correct me if I'm wrong, competing, you know, for the CrossFit Games. And obviously you're an entrepreneur, you've got the kids. Like what does working out look like for you now? And like, I guess what are your goals?
Yeah. So, you know, at NCFIT, we have a variety of different programs. We have mainly 3. One is called Metcon. It's a little bit more complex, has Olympic weightlifting in it and things like that. We have NCX, which is a little bit more strength and conditioning, old school. And then we have NC Go, which is all dumbbell. For me, I take our classes on a regular basis, right?
Oh, cool.
Take our classes. You know, I live, breathe fitness, but I want to be in the gym, enjoying it with the members. So I'll just take our classes. But primarily what I focus on is, you know, squatting once a week, moderately heavy, pulling off the floor once a week, pushing overhead once a week, moderately heavy, and doing some type of conditioning / weightlifting for 12 to 20 minutes every single day at a high intensity. And if you do that on a regular basis, you get pretty damn fit. And then I incorporate Jiu Jitsu probably 2 or 3 days a week, I'd say.
Awesome.
And that's what I do now.
So are you condensing your workouts into like that 20-minute window? Like that's how long you're spending working out?
Yeah. So, I mean, if someone asks me, you know, like when we go, I've given presentations at different places and people ask me, you know, what's the best, whatever. And I would say, hey, look, if you had 1 hour a day, 3 days a week, I would back squat 5 by 5. I would lift 5 by 5. I would press 5 by 5, bench press or strict press. That would be the strength.
Yeah.
And then I would do that. I say back squat. You warm up, you back squat, right? And then you do a 12 to 20 minute high intensity training. Like that could be, for example, I just got done a little bit ago of a bike, bar muscle up. We'll just call it a pull up, and push.
Thank you.
Push jerk, right? It's just 5 bar muscle ups, 5 push jerks, 10 calories on the bike, as many rounds as I could in 15 minutes. And combined with your strength 3 days a week, dude, you're crushing it.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, and again, like I can't even imagine how much time, and I've actually read how much time you used to dedicate, when you were competing at the highest level. Have you been able to maintain a really high level of strength and fitness, dialing it back to even just like kind of those 20-minute workouts organized in the way that you described?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not going to say that I'm in, CrossFit Games, best in the world shape. But I'm in enough shape that what my goals are now, one is I love Jiu Jitsu and I want to be able to defend myself, and there's a variety of other things there. But for the most part, I never want fitness to inhibit anything I want to go do. So if you want to go climb a mountain, if you want to go bike, if you want to go swim, if you want to go lift something heavy, you call me, right? If you want to move your house, you call me. I want to be the guy who fitness never inhibits me from doing anything that I want with my family, with my friends, and doing my strength and conditioning the way I was just talking about puts you in more than plenty of a position to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that you mentioned the 20-minute window, because I was just, I don't know if you know these guys. They founded Super Coffee, the DeSico brothers. They're amazing. Fantastic guys. You guys, I imagine, should probably overlap at some point. But same thing. So they were, they're ex-college athletes. They stay in incredible shape. Their whole business is built around like health and wellness. And they said something very similar. They do the 20-minute workouts, and they described it very similar to the way you do. And so I was just wondering, like, is there something to that 20-minute window?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, look, I went out to NYPD and I was trying to give them like a broad strokes approach. Everybody thinks you need to be in the gym for hours and hours and hours. And I mean, you can get super duper fit. I mean, really, really fit if you train strength. You have to lift loads. You have to incorporate external loads because they put stress on your body that is needed. I mean, it's so valuable. But if you could combine things like a push and a pull, like a press and a deadlift, or big movers. So if you really want to like nerd out on this, the best way to think about it is the time domains of 12 to 20 minutes are good because they kind of have this carryover between anaerobic, or like this really fast twitch, and aerobic, longer duration. They carry really well into both. So if you want to be able to kind of sprint a little bit or go out for a long jog, they could kind of carry over into both. Then you start looking at movements that provide a big bang for your buck. What that really means is you're moving a long range of motion. Things like burpees and thrusters and back squats, they put a lot of stress on your body, and that stress creates adaptation. And that's why you get such great results from it.
Yeah. Oh no, that actually makes a lot of sense. Well, and I think one of the things, especially people who are exceedingly ambitious, it can feel like there's not enough time in the day. Right. And unfortunately, like sleep typically usually gets cut out, which is, I think we're learning more and more every year just how detrimental that is. But also then like fitness, it's like, well, there's just not enough time. Like I can't go to the gym for an hour. So, I think what hopefully is inspiring for folks to hear from someone who has competed at such a high level, like you can get a lot of work done in 20 minutes and get yourself to a place where you're really fit.
Oh, dude, if anybody doesn't believe me, start a clock for 10 minutes and do, 3 push-ups, 5 sit-ups, 10 squats, as many times as you can in 10 minutes, and then send you a note and tell us how you feel, right? You're going to be smoked.
Yeah, please do.
It's that the difference is you're not going to do 3 push-ups, 5 sit-ups, 10 squats, and then kind of stand around and bullshit. You're going to do it and drop right back down because you're trying to get as many reps as you can. You're racing against the clock.
Yeah.
It's just a different mentality that's highly effective.
Yeah, I like it. One of the things I also wanted to ask you about is Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah.
When did you get into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu?
About 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay. And how much time are you dedicating to that a week? Because I thought I read that you just won like an open tournament a few years ago.
Yeah. So
So you're not dabbling is what I'm getting at.
No, I mean, because of COVID, things have been a little bit different.
Yeah.
But pre-COVID, so I was doing it quite a bit after my daughter got sick. It was a nice way to kind of like really be present and focused in what was going on in my life, which meant, if you're in the gym and you're, going to get choked, you're very present. And so it was nice because it gave me a relief for a shorter period of time from everything that we have going on, and so I started training then, and then I, started competing a little bit, and, you go from white belt to blue belt, et cetera. And then right now I'm a purple belt, and that process takes a while. And I was training quite often, but as of recently, I do privates only. And I do them 2 to 3 days a week, but privates are so impactful because you can really dial in the technique. So what's really nice about my background is that strength and conditioning aren't really a factor. It's primarily a technical concern. So the more that I can learn how to flow and hit positions, it plays in really well into my performance. So I love it. I mean, if anybody hasn't tried it, it's a great art.
Yeah, no, and I've always personally been so interested in it. And I think what is attractive to me, in addition to, like you said, being able to defend yourself, defend your family, which again, like I feel like actually gets overlooked. At any point, like you could get tested and you want to be able to defend yourself. But like you said, like I and tell me if this is part of the appeal to you too, like it does seem so technical. It's like this new kind of uncharted territory to like acquire skill and like throw yourself at something.
Yeah.
That requires mastery.
Yeah. I mean, so like CrossFit early in the day was that for me, for sure. You would want to learn a muscle up and a handstand push up. And then over time, I would meet experts in the field and I developed these skills. Or I wanted to improve my swimming, so I found a swimming coach. Or I wanted to improve my running, so I found a running coach. I spent, better part of a decade, dedicated to these crafts. What's nice about Jiu Jitsu is it continues that learning protocol in something that is very practical. Just like I don't want fitness to inhibit me, I also want my self-defense to not inhibit me as well. And that's a personal goal that I have. And, what's interesting about Jiu Jitsu and fitness, both of them, is like, when you're driving on the freeway and you see like one of those Fidelity ads, and it says like, no one ever regretted saving for retirement today or earlier, right?
Yeah.
No one ever regretted like, oh shit, I shouldn't have, 10 years later, you look at your retirement fund, you're like, wow, that's really impressive. It's the same thing with fitness or jiu-jitsu or anything you want to get into is like, if you could just get started, that's the hardest part. Every day down the line, you're just putting money in the bank, and that bank, you never know when you're going to need it, right? You never know when you're going to need to go pick up something or go run after something or, just be in good health for your family. But if you start now every day, and it's the same thing with your self-defense.
No, I agree. And I love that analogy too. And actually this kind of piques my interest. Are you thinking about, do you have any like long-term, this might be a weird question, like longevity goals in terms of fitness? Like, are you thinking about longevity in any way outside of just like trying to remain healthy for today?
I mean, right now it's just being there for my kids and being able to, I want to be able to, again, never have fitness inhibit what I want to go do. If I'm, if I'm 70 years old and my son comes to me and wants to go hike Machu Picchu, I'm be like, hell yeah, let's roll. And that's my goal. That's the long-term horizon for me is, cause I've seen it firsthand, like I've seen people that are in their 50s, 40s, even 60s, 70s, who say no a lot because they're afraid of the physicality of it. And I think there's a way that we can get past that. I know there is, and we just got to stay consistent. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, we're now living in an age where I'm seeing people who do it, right? I know the 70-year-old who's still in incredible shape. And like, to your point, like he's not inhibited. Like if you want to go jet ski, like let's go jet ski. You want to go do that? Like, let's do it. And so, I often think like fitness is an incredible investment, like in your health today. right? But to your point, like I'm saying, like, how do I keep this going so that I can do that when I'm 70 and who knows, 80, 90?
And that's the
That's what's like
inspiration.
becoming the intriguing problem to me.
But that's the inspiration too, is that it's
Yeah.
not that complicated. It really isn't. The motivation
Hmm.
is I want to be there for my family. I want to be healthy. I don't want fitness to inhibit me. And the mindset tools, I mean, that's a whole nother layer we can get into, is this idea of overcoming adversity. I mean, nowadays we're so surrounded by ways to remove conflict and adversity. That's the goal, right? We have
Yeah.
air conditioning and heaters and all these things that make life more comfortable. And that's fine, right?
Right.
Shit, I use those all the time. But
Yeah.
but then when life really comes and kind of gives you one of those, you might not be as prepared because you haven't exposed yourself to just a little bit of adversity. And so
Hmm.
working out is a great way to expose yourself to a little bit of adversity. Hey, you go in there, you push yourself, it's a little painful, you push past it, and you just start to kind of callous yourself and become a little bit stronger every single day. And that's a huge benefit to fitness, not to mention all the things that we're talking about. And it doesn't have to be that complicated. I think even for anybody, it's just better is better. Go for a walk, do a couple of squats, and there's some beautiful movements you can incorporate that are just really, really impactful if you know how to do them the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. The folks who come to NCFIT, is it folks kind of at all stages in the fitness journey?
Mhm.
Folks who are just starting and trying to kind of get, just to start to better themselves all the way to like the elite CrossFit athletes?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I mean, I think we tailor to we probably tailor to people who are a little bit not right off the couch, right, and
Yeah.
not the super high competitor in CrossFit Games. We tailor to that audience that's really, they're ready to take their fitness they want their fitness to improve, and they've already
Yeah.
made strides in their life to do that on their own through walking and stuff, and now they just need the support of a community and a coach, and they want to progress forward. We also take people right off the couch, and we're prepared to be those people who could help them along their journey, because one of the things that we do really well, and I would encourage anybody who's looking to get into shape, is to identify
Yeah.
a program that is just really good bang for your buck, and that traditionally is things like lifting loads and high intensity training. These things are just proven to be super effective. Now,
Hmm.
if you tell me, hey, I like just going for a run every single day, then go for it, because that's still great. But if you want to switch it up and get a diverse fitness platform, look for a gym that can provide that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So for you, where you're at now, what are you most excited about? Obviously, you're growing your business. Your kids are getting to that age where I'm sure they're starting to like find out what they're interested in. Like, what are you most excited about at this point?
Oh man, to get through COVID and
Yeah.
find out what opportunities are on the other side, because right now the uncertainty is just extreme, and
Mm,
it's really challenging mentally, physically, emotionally on everybody. And so I'm looking forward to kind of getting the business past this and seeing
yeah.
what's on the other side, because there's gonna be great opportunity.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about adversity. How, how are you approaching dealing with this time? Like, like a lot of folks say like, hey, stay positive. How do you stay positive and focused?
I mean, it's a few things, right? It's recognizing that there's a lot of things that are occurring that are outside my control, and I
Yeah.
got to just be at peace with that. I could scream and yell and cry and whatever, but it's not going to do anything about it. What I need to do is hone in on, okay, what is in my control, and how do we get ourselves through this? And also just giving myself some space to know that, like, this is a challenging time for any business owner, for anybody in the world, because there's so much uncertainty,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's a lot of this conflict with family, and not to mention the political perspective. There's just a lot going
Yeah.
on.
There's a little bit going on in 2020.
There is, and I think it's okay to admit that. Like, hey, look,
Yeah.
there's a lot of really challenging things going on. That's okay, because this is what I'm grateful for. This is how I'm compartmentalizing this, and this is how we're going to move forward. And I guess I'm fortunate that at a relatively young age, my family and I were kind of kicked really hard, and we had to learn really quickly how to compartmentalize and do the things I was just talking about. Because when your daughter gets diagnosed with leukemia, like, you have no other choice. Like, what are you going to do? go cry in the corner. Like the
Right.
world's coming at you, man. Like you gotta set yourself up and prioritize what's in your control. And I think that's exactly what we have to do right now.
Yeah. It's funny. You said something at the very beginning that I just coincidentally have thought, especially in moments of adversity, but it's this thought that like, no one's coming for you. No one's coming to save you. And you know what? I really started realizing that like when I had my own family, because there's, you know what I mean? Look, like animal gets in the house. It's like, well, my dad's not here to go handle that. Or, you know what I mean? Oh, there's a noise out at the barn at 11 at night. So, well, no one else is going to do it. It's time for me to handle it. So I relate very much to that mentality. And it was awesome to hear you say that.
Yeah. I mean, and when life, you know, strikes you down, I mean, you need to have a network of friends and family you could talk to, you know, and vent to and talk through, but do it in a constructive manner, right? Where I talk to my wife and I'm like, dude, we're getting really, this business stuff is tough when the government comes and shuts you down, this and that. I'm really struggling with it right now. And I'm trying to find ways to overcome it and just having a conversation about it. Like, and that's okay. You know, like it's okay to admit that we're all in a really challenging time. And I think the more you talk about it, the more you vent about it, the more you will realize there's actually a lot of positives going on. It's just hard to see through the challenges sometimes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree. Well, man, so you've got a number of outlets, right? You've got a lot of things you're doing. You've got, do you still do the As Many Reps as Possible podcast?
No. So that one,
because you've got
we have the Business of Fitness podcast, which, you know, we had this podcast. It was called, you know, AMRAP Mentality or As Many Reps as Possible podcast. And it was great. The challenge is that I had to make a decision. Do I want to continue to build my personal brand, or do I want to build or focus more on NCFIT, this organization that could provide for a lot of people, et cetera? And it's not that I don't want to build a personal brand. It's that we needed to hone in our focus on NCFIT and what we were doing. And so that podcast fell a little bit outside the scope, and my passion for it, I started building resentment to it because it became a lot of effort that was pulling me away from other things that really needed my attention. So I stopped doing that.
Yeah. And it's, you know, we this has come up a couple times already, but do you make a conscious effort to like step back, reflect and like prioritize? Because I know like, obviously what occurred with your daughter, like no question, that would hopefully, you know, that would force anyone to take a serious look about like, hey, how do we prioritize everything we're doing? But it sounds like within the business, like there's a conscious effort to do that continually as well.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, you're on a long bike ride and you're just brainstorming all the time. Like, hey, what are we doing well? What are we not doing well? What do we need to get rid of? Where's our priorities? Where do we shift? What do we say no to? I mean, but that's just the way I'm thinking all the time. And those are just the thoughts from a business perspective on, you know, am I spending 80% of my time on something that's only driving 10% value towards the company? And am I doing the best I can as the leader, as the entrepreneur, as the CEO to guide the ship in the appropriate direction? And you know, I got to think about that. I mean, that's my job. You know,
it's your job. Yeah,
that's my job. I mean, just like someone else's job might be to coach a great class, or someone else's job might be to work the front desk and do a great job, or someone else's job might be finance. My job is to guide the ship and to set the course. And if I'm not doing that appropriately, I'm letting a lot of people down.
Yeah. Oh man, I can completely understand where you're coming from there. A lot of responsibility beyond just, like you said, just providing for yourself, thinking about all the folks that work for you. And it's awesome. So, you know, you've got a lot of really great resources for people who want to continue to follow you and follow what you're doing at NCFIT. You know, where do you recommend that I point them?
I mean, for now, if you could follow nc.fit on Instagram, you can go to nc.fit. That's it. Just the website is nc.fit. We will be rolling out some new stuff coming towards the end of the year, the new year, that if you're looking for great workouts, if you want to be a part of a cool community, that's what we have going on. And I'm really, really excited about our new app, our new programs we're releasing. And we'd love to have you as a part of what we're doing. You can check me out, Jason Khalipa, on different social channels. You can check out our Business of Fitness podcast if you're interested in the business of fitness. Yeah,
I caught a couple of those episodes, actually. I had a lot of fun listening to it. And I think that's such just I mean, I'm sure, you know, it's it's a great resource, and it goes hand in hand with what you're doing with what is it, NCFIT Collective? Sorry, I want to make sure I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a cool perspective. Like your willingness to share, like, look, this is how we build the business. These are the things I'm thinking about. I have to imagine, even for folks who aren't specifically going to open gyms, like a lot of that stuff is really relevant.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about stuff that's sometimes like super specific, right? But sometimes really broad strokes business stuff. Like, and people can kind of take it the way they want, is the way I like to think about it. Like, I'm going to share from our experience. Hey, look, we had an employee today. This was the challenge. This is how we're overcoming it. Because we're not talking about this from like some, shelter. We're talking about when we're being in the trenches of the actual business day to day. And that's what we really try and found the podcast on, is this idea of like being real and being like, not vulnerable. I don't know if that's the right word, but just being authentic to the fact that entrepreneurship is not all rainbows and unicorns. And we're going to share with you just what we're going through and how we're navigating.
No, very cool. Very cool. Well, Jason, man, really appreciate you taking the time. And this has been a lot of fun, and I'm sure people are going to get a lot out of it.
Hey, no, thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You got it.